Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another edition of the Spurs Chat podcast. In this edition, we'll be talking about another Tottenham Hotspur defeat in the Premier League. That is now 21 this season in the Premier League. Aston Villa 2, Tottenham Hotspur 0. We are live on YouTube, live on X, Facebook and Twitch, so please do get involved. Let us know how you are feeling right now as a Tottenham Hotspur fan. Of course, we do have the Europa League final in just 5 days to look forward to. Opta have just put out the following. Tottenham have now lost 25 games in all competitions this season. Their joint most defeats in a single campaign in Tottenham's history, along with the 1991-1992 season. Spurs are still 17th in the Premier League table. And as I mentioned, we are in the Europa League final in just 5 days' time. I've got two very special guests back with me. We've got Craig Dearman. Craig, how are you?
Yeah, I'm all good. Yeah, didn't really care much for tonight. I think as much as I wanted performance, but we'll get into it.
Absolutely. We've also got actor Jamie Kenner back with us. Jamie, how are you? Great to have you here.
Yeah, nice to be back. Yeah, nice to see you, Chris. Nice to see you, Craig. Yeah, it's interesting coming on a podcast to talk about tonight when we've all got our eyes on Wednesday. But let's pick the bones out of. Let's do 5 minutes on the Villa game and then move on to the important matter.
Do you know what, Jamie? It was quite weird. Like, I'm recording this podcast now in the car, just meters away from Villa Park. And it was such a weird atmosphere. Lots and lots and lots of empty seats, rows upon rows of empty seats in the away end. And I don't think I've seen that amount of empty seats in an away end for a very, very long time. I feel like everyone expected us to lose this evening, but it's interesting. I know we're going to get into it. The two goals that we did concede straight after the Spurs away end, they were singing, Bilbao songs, and it was all about the Europa League final on Wednesday. But of course, that stat that I read out earlier, 25 games in all competitions, 25 defeats, 21 in the Premier League. We have broken a lot of records under Ange Postecoglou this season, unwanted records, I might add. Jamie, before we get into it and before we talk about the football, how have you been? Because you haven't been on the podcast for a good few months, and how's the acting stuff going at the moment?
It's good, yeah. I've been busy, touch wood, which was nice. I was up in Manchester doing. I was trying to think earlier if I can actually say what I've been filming. I've been doing a couple of different TV things. So I'm currently filming an ITV thing, which is in Brighton, set in Brighton, which is where I live. So I'm literally filming on my doorstep, which never happened. So yeah, it's been good. It's been busy. It's been lots of things ticking along. So it's nice to be back on here. I mean, you and I obviously keep in touch and all that. So it's the first opportunity really I've had to jump on. So I'm glad to be here.
Well, it's great to have you here, Jamie. Great to have you back. And as you said, we won't talk about the Aston Villa game for too long. We'll concentrate on the
that being said, I did what I sort of like everyone else went on and was like, going through the motions. But I actually thought we started well. I actually thought we played quite well. I thought considering we've got both eyes on Bilbao and we obviously want to maintain our 17th position. I think that's really important. But Villa obviously are trying to push the Champions League. So I actually thought we made a good fist of it, which was quite surprising for a bit. Anyway.
Right, before we do get into it, there's a new app available that I'd like to tell you about. Let's go. Hi everyone, before we get into it, I'd just like to tell you about a brand new app. It's called Match Bingo. You can play along with live sports and Spurs matches and you could win cash prizes. Watch your card fill up in real time whilst watching Tottenham. Make sure that you get your bingo card for our next game. Click on the link in the description or via the QR code. Real sports, real bingo, great prizes. Enjoy. As I always say, the Spurs games are always so eventful, particularly this season. So do get your bingo card and play along in the next game. Now let's get into it. Aston Villa 2, Tottenham Hotspur 0. Konsa putting Aston Villa 1-0 up in the 59th minute. And Kamara in the 73rd minute scoring their second goal. One other result in the Premier League this evening. Chelsea 1, Manchester United 0. Of course, we face Manchester United in 5 days' time in Bilbao in the Europa League final. As I mentioned, Spurs remain 17th in the table with just 1 game to go. We have 38 points from 37 games. The highest that Spurs could finish in this Premier League campaign is 14th with a win against Brighton. And obviously, we have to rely on other results in the Premier League as well. Now, the match facts and stats this evening: Aston Villa with 68.6% of the ball to Tottenham's 31.4%. XG, Aston Villa 1.56, Tottenham 0.32. Shots, Aston Villa had 18 to Tottenham's 3. Shots on target, Aston Villa 7, Tottenham Hotspur just 1. Total touches inside the box, Aston Villa 40, Tottenham Hotspur 8. Goalkeeper saves, Martinez 1, Kinski 5. And fouls, Aston Villa 5, Tottenham 12. And corners, Aston Villa had 9 to Tottenham's 1. Ange Postecoglou has just given an update on Pape Matar Sarr. He said he felt something in his back. We don't think it's anything significant, having spoken to him, but we will see. Now, Craig, before I do come to you, I want to get the thoughts of Ange Postecoglou. This is just around 2 minutes. This is what Ange made of the game this evening.
Ange, thanks for joining us. 2-0 in the end. Performance-wise, was that a bit more like what you were looking for?
Yeah, look, fair to say it was always going to be a difficult assignment today, but yeah, I thought the boys for the most part, worked hard, really sort of disciplined and focused, and we made it really difficult for them. Obviously, when they score, it kind of then takes the game away from us. But disappointing to lose. But I thought a better effort.
Okay, obviously important stuff. Does everyone come through okay?
Yeah, I think so. Pape felt something in his back, so we kind of took him off as a precaution. But everyone else looks like they got through unscathed. We obviously protected a few today, but Sonny got good 60-65 minutes, which is important, and I think everyone else is fine.
I was going to ask you about Sonny. I mean, that must have warmed your heart when you saw him take off a couple of times in the first half. Yeah, it's good. It's good to have him back and available. I'm sure he feels better for that sort of run out as well, having a decent hit out. Hopefully that gives him, puts him in good shape for the final. Someone that might go under the radar a little bit, but someone like Mikey Moore tonight has had to play within a real structure. What will that do for his development? Yeah, it's important. Look, we still had a really young team out there. I mean, the last 3 weeks, I think our average age has been 3 or 4 years younger than the opposition, So I think it's good for Mikey to learn different aspects of his game. This year was always going to be a development year for him, and he's played a fair bit, and through that I think has grown, and I'm sure it'll make him a better player. Okay, final Wednesday. How are the next few days looking? Yeah, really important. Obviously, it's 5 days. Obviously, we left a few players back as well, and we've got some important training sessions coming up, and get ready. It's a massive game, obviously, but it's a hell of an opportunity for us.
Craig, let's come to you. Let's get your thoughts on this evening's defeat at Aston Villa, because as we've mentioned already, eyes are on the Europa League final, but Spurs are sitting 17th. We are breaking unwanted records. How are you feeling about it?
Yeah, we are breaking totally unwanted records, but as you say, it's all about Wednesday, really, isn't it? To be fair, I wasn't bothered about the result tonight. I just wanted to see a bit of a performance by the players, and especially the ones that are perhaps on the fringes, and the couple of positions you'd think that Ange Postecoglou perhaps hasn't got nailed down completely for his starting 11 on Wednesday. Yep. So, as I say, I wasn't that concerned about the result. It doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things, but the performance was the thing I was looking at. And to be honest, the first half, I didn't think it was too bad. A bit more pragmatic approach. It's just the second half really just died a death, didn't it? It was a pretty poor, turgid second half. Bad defending for the first goal, bad defending for the second goal. And as soon as the first one went in, they gave up, but there wasn't much about them really. So all in all, positives to come out of it. Doesn't seem like we've got loads of injuries, which is good. Hopefully Sarr's okay, and Sonny got an hour in his legs. So I think that's all you can say. I think most of us were just watching the game hoping that no players got injured, and it doesn't seem to appear that they did. So that's a good thing. And it's just a free run to Bilbao now.
Jamie, how are you feeling about it?
Yeah, I mean, what about the Villa, the game and
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, much like Craig says, really, I wasn't expecting a lot. I think there's a couple of positions up for grabs, so you want to see, people trying to play their way in. I definitely wanted to see something from Sonny because I think he will start on Wednesday, and I wanted to see a bit of energy. And actually, I did think he showed a bit. He showed a little bit about him. And that, well, maybe, I don't know if it's enough or not, but yeah. So I thought we started the game pretty well. I actually thought it was a better game than I thought it was going to be. And then, as Craig said, second half, it disappeared away from us. And then it felt like, not only like you're saying, that the fans turned their sights to Wednesday, so did the players. It felt like to me, they went, it's now a lost cause. Let's just stay safe and get over the line just in case we play on Wednesday.
Jamie, what Craig said there, and also Ange Postecoglou said it in his pre-match press conference about, some players taking their opportunity ahead of Wednesday's game, because, it's fair to say that if players did play well in the games leading up to the final, they could put their case forward to say, look, I want to start that final. Who took their opportunity this evening for you?
I think Tell looked all right. I thought Odar looked all right in early stages. Like I said, Sonny. I mean, this is all based on the first half, really, and probably the first half of the first half. I think as the game went on, I think it petered out a little bit. I think they're probably the three players that are, in my opinion, looking to force their way in. I think the midfield three kind of pick themselves at the moment due to injuries, as well as maybe a bit of form. But I think they're the three really, and I think that's a very, very minor selection headache that he's got on that left hand side, particularly. For me, if you want my opinion, I think Sonny plays. I think it's a big game, it's a big final. He's a legend. If he looks sharp, which I think he did, I would give him the nod. But I know that might divide opinion, but I don't think anyone else has shown enough to warrant not giving him a chance.
Craig, interestingly, before we went live, I went on X for a couple of minutes and I saw that Ange out was trending. How are you feeling about Ange Postecoglou? Because, of course, we do have 2 games left of the season. It's either going to go down as a really, really dismal season in breaking unwanted records. And I don't want to seem negative here because, of course, we do have a final on Wednesday. It's either going to be, a fantastic season in terms of lifting a trophy and getting a Champions League spot, or it's going to go down as, wow, we finished 17th, just above the relegation zone, just in front of 3 very poor teams.
Yeah, it really is all or nothing this season. Never known a season like it, to be honest with you. How am I feeling about Postecoglou? I think there's an argument to say that he's got to probably go regardless of the win. Some people think that's harsh. If we win the final, should you keep the manager? But it's the league forms your bread and butter, and it just hasn't been good enough in the league this year. Albeit for 3 teams that performed pretty dismally. We would be in a relegation fight and having to deal with Europa League run. In fact, if we had to deal with the relegation fight, I'm not sure we would have got this far in the Europa. So, it would have been even worse. But yeah, I've never known a season like it where so much hinges on one game, 190-minute game. Whichever team loses on Wednesday, it's going to be a disastrous season, because whether you get to final or not, it don't really mean much, does it? Unless you win. Let's face it. Nobody's going to remember in 10 years' time who came runner-up in the Europa League 2025. But people are going to generally remember the winners. So, but it's just huge. It's huge for the club if we get this win. But like you say, because it's Champions League football, it's attracting better players, keeping players that might want to move on if we don't have European football. I mean, last season, it was last season, wasn't it? I'm losing my mind. But we played 41 games, and this season we must have played nearly 60. So it's a huge difference, and yeah, we can't have another season without Europe. It's becoming a little bit common, isn't it? You know, you can't have 2 seasons out of 3 where you haven't got European football club like Spurs. It just can't happen. So this is just a huge, huge game on Wednesday for a multitude of reasons. But, you know, breaking that trophy drought, but getting qualification for the Champions League is huge.
I know, obviously, we're going to talk about the defeat Aston Villa this evening, but there's going to be a lot, talking about Wednesday night against Manchester United. Craig, let's stick with you for a second, because this was the starting 11 today. Of course, as expected, Ange Postecoglou made a number of changes again. I wasn't at all surprised when I saw the bus pull in and Romero and Van de Ven didn't get off that bus. And I feel like, you know, a lot of people didn't want those players in particular to feature, you know, in this game, even be a sub. So the starting 11 this evening: Kinski, Spence, Danso, Davis, Reguilon, Gray, Sarr, Moore, Odar, Son and Tell. And the sub bench this evening: Bentancur, Basuma, Casanova, Johnson, Olasesi, Poro, Solanke, Vicario and Richarlison. Craig, when that starting 11 came out, how did you feel? And I also want to get your opinion on Manchester United's starting 11, because Ruben Amorim has said a number of times that, you know, they're going to rest a number of players, but they were virtually at full strength at Chelsea tonight.
Yeah, and the first cover off there, starting 11, it was weird because, see, Reguilon's name, didn't even have him in my thoughts to play tonight, to be honest with you. I almost forgot he was at the club, to be honest. Spence, Danso, Davis, absolutely, and Kinski, kind of had them in my mental starting 11, and Gray and Moore and Odar, and we knew Son was going to get minutes and probably Tell as well. Sarah I wasn't too sure about, but yeah, pretty much, bar Reguilon and Sarr, it was pretty much what I expected. I'm surprised that I thought Sonny was only going to get 45 minutes. When he appeared for the second half, I thought, oh, God, he's obviously going to get an hour, but please don't get injured. And thankfully he didn't. And, of course, the one missing from that is Udogie as well. I don't know if I assume he's totally fit and just left at home. Manchester United, yeah, they did have a fairly strong team out tonight. And apparently, obviously, I didn't watch the game. I've just what I've seen on X. They didn't play particularly well. But you think, you know, they've got a cup final Wednesday as well, so players aren't going to be throwing themselves into challenges. In fact, Johnson, actually, when Johnson came on, there was one that he could have gone for, but you saw you could see him pull out of it. So players aren't going to be at full tilt when you've got a cup final. You're not going to risk getting injured, especially in a game, you know, for Manchester United and for Tottenham that didn't mean much to either club other than a bit of pride and finishing perhaps 1 or 2 positions further up the table in the league. So, yeah, not surprised with Tottenham's lineup. A bit surprised at Manchester United's, but all I was really concerned about was Spurs.
Jamie, let's come to you on the starting 11. Any surprises there for you? Because, of course, before the game, if you went on social media, everyone was saying, just play the youngsters, play the under-21s, you know, don't play anyone who's going to feature in the final Wednesday, because the amount of injuries and the amount of issues we've had this season, we simply don't need any more injuries. But was there any surprises there for you?
I don't. Yeah, I mean, my surprise, but I had the same thing about Reguilon, but when he played, I can't remember the game he played in this season, and I was like, I thought he'd gone. I didn't realise we still had him. But yeah, I wouldn't say there was any massive surprises. Yeah, maybe that Sonny got as long as he did, but I'm trying to see that as a positive.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think there was. I think it speaks volumes. And like you said, with Van de Ven, Romero not featuring, you know, I would have been very surprised if they were even, you know, on the bench address. I think, you know, I think we know what he's going to do on Wednesday, pretty much. I think, like I said, for me, there's one position that you could possibly argue that's up for grabs, but no, there wasn't any massive surprises with the starting 11.
Jamie, I'm with you. I feel like HeungMin Son getting that amount of minutes today at Villa Park is a real positive. And You really think he's going to start on Wednesday? Because does it not have that feel again of Harry Kane coming back for the Champions League final and Son now coming back for the Europa League final? But we talk about that, but then who has really stamped their place in the team in front of HeungMin Son if he doesn't play?
No, exactly. There isn't any standout, and also with the Champions League final, my heart still breaks for Lucas Moura because I still think that was the wrong decision. But Kane hadn't played really. Kane, that was a, we had the same with Rooney and Beckham in World Cups and stuff, didn't we, with the metatarsal and all that. It was a wrong decision. I think Son getting that amount of minutes, plus he had some minutes at the weekend. I think it's a slightly different kettle of fish. And also, then you've got Moura who scores the hat trick and then loses his place. We haven't got anyone. We're 17th in the league. We've got no one that's come in and commanded that left-hand side. We've got no one that's come in and really commanded anywhere other than maybe the centre halves, and I think Bergwall's brilliant, but we'll get into all that. So for me, he's a club legend. He's got it in him. He's got the experience. He's not had a great season, Sonny. Every single Spurs fan would forgive him a terrible season to come on and have the game of his life in the cup final on Wednesday. And he's the sort of player that can do it. There's arguments about his legs have gone. I don't see his legs. I think he's still he's probably not as, he's a little bit of a half a yard short of what he used to be, but he's still lightning fast. His confidence, and I think what better stage to come on in a Europa League final and grab the club by and be the captain that we want him to be and to drag us through. I think it's a great opportunity, and there's no one there standing in his way that's going to be like, oh, that's harsh. Dropping Lucas Moura, I thought there was an arguable. Kane's obviously an amazing player, but at that time he wasn't fit. I think he would have been a better threat off the bench. There's no one in front of Sonny for me. I think it's a game that he deserves to play in. Forget this season, for what he's done for the club, he deserves to. If he's fit enough, he deserves to get the start on Wednesday.
So, Jamie, with the starting 11 and the players that Ange Postecoglou used off the bench this evening against Aston Villa, do you feel like he managed the game perfectly well ahead of that Manchester United game? Are you very happy with the way that he did that?
I mean, it's a really difficult one, but I was listening to what Craig said about Ange, and I don't want to be one of those supporters. I've been on this podcast, since Ange has been there, and I've said in Ange we trust, and I've been, and I'm not Ange out. I'm not going to be an Ange out because I'm not going to be one of those fickle Spurs fans that turns his back. But managing the game, I don't know if I could go that far. That it was well managed. We lost 2-0 and we ran out of steam.
No, sorry, I meant in terms of players' minutes.
I guess, yeah. I mean, looking at it positively, probably like Craig said, maybe Sonny should have got less just in case, but we got away with it. So yeah, I guess so. I don't know really. I don't know what I expected. I just wanted everyone to come through unscathed. I just wasn't really, and a half decent performance. It's really hard to analyse a game that you're not really that bothered about in terms of the result. It's done. We're done. It's the most ridiculous season. And how if we win the Europa League on Wednesday, how we then prepare for Champions League. But let's think about that if and when it comes. But it's crazy that 16th and 17th position in the Premier League are fighting it out for European honours on Wednesday. It's hard to get your head around. Yeah,
certainly. Craig, can I ask you that same question about Ange Postecoglou managing the players' minutes this evening? Because Van de Ven, Romero, as you mentioned, your doggy, all staying at home, not getting any minutes this evening. So of course we know how important that back line is to Tottenham, and of course Vicario didn't start the game either today. Kinski got the nod. In terms of managing minutes for even like HeungMin Son, and like Jamie mentioned that he hopes that HeungMin Son will start the game on Wednesday. How would you describe the managing of minutes with the players, from the bench and players starting?
I thought it actually worked out pretty well, to be honest. If you're just talking about minutes played for players, then I think he got it pretty right, to be honest with you, regardless of the result.
Yeah,
those players did need minutes in the legs. I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? I mean, we're saying we rested Van de Ven, Romero, Doggy, doesn't matter about a goalkeeper, essentially Porro completely. And I guess it's a bit of a trade-off, isn't it? Would you want Mickey van der Ven, for example, to play tonight just to get minutes in his legs? But he's such an important player in that final. I'd rather have Mickey van der Ven not played for nearly 2 weeks than risk Mickey van der Ven tonight. So it is a case of really wrapping them up in cotton wool. It just goes to show, doesn't it, really, that how much Ange wants to protect that first choice backline, because he obviously can see that the four that were in tonight just aren't up to it. And if he had to play one of them, if you lose one of that four, we're weaker. We're a lot weaker, in fact. So he obviously had to play somebody. So the front line, you know, he feels he can probably rotate a bit less. Sorry, a bit less, isn't it? Because obviously he had to give Sonny some time, he had to give Tell some time, resting Solanke, but Solanke got a few minutes. So just felt the risks were worth it in the front line rather than the defence. He can't afford to lose that first choice back four.
Craig, let's stay with you. Let's go through the match instance this evening. In the 5th minute, HeungMin Son virtually through. He tried crossing the ball instead of shooting. It seemed that he was in a perfect place. And I agree with what Jamie said, really. You know, what we all expect of HeungMin Son. You know, we expect the ball to be hitting the back of the net and we expect him to be a little bit quicker. We haven't really seen that from him this season. And from his point of view, it has been a disappointing season for him.
Yeah, he'd probably say that as well. Thing is, HeungMin Son tonight, he's coming back from injury. And we do forget that he's 32 now, and we just remember what he was like 5 years ago. There's a huge difference in a footballer, unless you're a freak of nature like Messi or Ronaldo or somebody like that. Ronaldo actually scored more goals since the age 30 than pre-30. I think that's the correct stat. So there's not many of them around. But Sonny, he's not the same player he was when he was 27. He has lost a little bit of pace, and he doesn't play with Harry Kane anymore, which was that partnership was obviously we know about that partnership, most assists in the Premier League between the pair. So we can't expect Sonny to do the same things. We just can't, and that's the sad reality of getting older, you know. But I thought Sonny played well tonight. I did. I thought, especially in the first half, tailed off a little bit in that second half, the 15 minutes he was on, but I was quite encouraged. He still has got his pace, obviously. He skinned a couple of defenders there, ran with the ball. That's what I wanted to see him doing. Yeah. Disappointed he didn't shoot on that occasion, but there was one a little bit later on where he cut inside and had a shot, trademark Sonny. So there's signs there, and it looks like, for me, he's got to start on Wednesday, 100%.
Yeah. Jamie, let's come to you. On 6 minutes, Ollie Watkins had a shot at Kinski, comfortable for the goalkeeper. A minute later, McGinn shot over the bar from 20 yards. Aston Villa had another shot which went over the bar after 10 minutes. HeungMin Son put in a cross after 12 minutes, which was cleared. And then, as Craig mentioned there, another chance for HeungMin Son. It looked like a trademark HeungMin Son, top corner, top right-hand corner, but it went over the crossbar. And then a minute later, Son to Odar to Tell, back to Odar, and then Martinez saved. I think this was our only shot actually on target, a good goal, good goalkeeper save. It was a good start from Spurs, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Like I said, I was quite surprised at how game we were and how sort of competitive the game was, considering, you know, the stakes for us and the stakes for them. But I thought it was good. I thought there was some really encouraging signs. I thought Odar looked sharp. I think Tell's started to show a little bit here and there anyway. But yeah, I think it was a really encouraging start. I thought we looked like we had good energy, and we just sort of tailed off as the game moved away from us, really. But there was some positives for sure. Enough positives that we're looking for in the situation we're in.
And on Son's performance tonight, Jamie, what did you make of his overall performance? Because, you know, he had a couple of chances tonight. I felt like Son did okay. And I feel like, you know, on his day, You know that he can put one in the top corner. You know that he can, have that killer pass, have that moment in a game. Are you confident that Son has still got it in big games, certainly like Wednesday?
I mean, I really want to be, and we took for granted, much like Harry Kane, much like you do with great players. I've been in that stadium when, in this season when Son's gone through, he's had chances, and you just expect the net to bulge, and it doesn't, and he hooks it or he pulls it wide or whatever. Now, if that whole stadium feels that that's going to happen and it doesn't, imagine how he feels, because he thinks it's going to happen as well. And so that's what I mean. I do truly believe that it's not his legs and it's not his pace, because he's still finding himself in the positions. He's still getting the opportunities. It's confidence, which I think is a better situation to be in, because if it's his legs that are gone and he can't beat players anymore and he can't find his way into those little gaps, and he can't get around the back, can't do that trademark cut inside, then we've got a problem. But I think as it's a confidence thing, confidence comes and goes, particularly in strikers and attacking players. So I do believe that one good performance, one massive performance, one massive goal turns the corner for him, flips it on its head. His confidence returns. And like I said, what better stage to do it on, when we need him the most, to rescue our season, to rescue our future, certainly the immediate future. And that's what club legends do, and I more, as much as anyone, if not more than anyone, I'm desperate for him to do that. He deserves that. He's been such a great servant for us. He's been an amazing player. He lived in the shadow of Kane for a while. He took his chances whenever he did, and he's just been brilliant. And I think I will him to go out there on Wednesday and win it for us. I really, really do. And of course, he's a top player, because he can definitely do it.
I was going to ask, regardless of what happens on Wednesday against Manchester United in the Europa League final, do you think HeungMin Son will be a Spurs player next season?
Oh, I just don't know what's going to happen. I wouldn't be surprised either way, if I'm honest. I wouldn't be surprised either way. I think I'll be brutal about it as well. I think it's more than just a player. It's a business. It's a commercial decision as well as a playing decision, I think. He's an icon, and he puts a lot of bums on seats in that stadium. So I think to let him go is a big commercial decision as well as a playing personnel decision. I wouldn't like for him to leave off the back of it. If we don't win on Wednesday, if we win on Wednesday and he goes, then and he's played a big part in that, then it's maybe a different decision. But if we lose on Wednesday and he leaves off the back of this season, I think that's a shame, because I do think there's more in the tank. I think there's a bit of he needs to adapt maybe, and that's a coaching thing. What's his role? Is there a different role that he can play? But I wouldn't like him to leave off the back of this. But no, I like I said, I wouldn't. Maybe I would be surprised if he left. I would be surprised, but it's a big thing, and it'd be sad if he has a season like this, considering how he's been for us, how he's played for us.
Craig, just a quick yes or no: Son to be a Spurs player next season, regardless of Wednesday's result?
Yeah, I think he will be, actually. I do. Yeah.
Okay. After 18 minutes, cross into the Villa box, Morgan Rogers on the end of it. Great save from Kinski. What do you make of Kinski this evening?
Yeah, he played well. Actually, I thought he was probably our player of the match, to be honest. Some really good saves. I don't know if it was that fingertip one around the post you're talking about, but he made a couple of like that, to be fair.
Yeah.
Good solid performance, really. It's weird to say when you lose a game 2-0, but I thought he played well. His distribution was good. On the whole, pretty good game for him. I'm just glad we did rest Vicario, because you never know what could happen. People say you don't need to rest goalkeepers, well, you do. Like we saw what happened to Hugo Lloris, was it at Brighton when he done his elbow? Can happen, can't it? So it was a wise decision. Kinski, somebody said, John Creamer said there, Kinski kept us in it. Absolutely.
Yeah. Craig, what did you make of Aston Villa this evening? Because they did have a number of opportunities midway through the first half. They crossed in on 20 minutes, Gray cleared. On 22 minutes, a good chance for Aston Villa, but Ollie Watkins misplaced his pass, which he looked extremely frustrated. They put a shot over the bar on 27 minutes. Another good move from Aston Villa on 29 minutes, resulting in Ollie Watkins having a shot. Dano then blocked. On 32 minutes, a good opportunity for Aston Villa again. Passing so many times in the box, it seemed like they wanted to score the perfect goal, but it was eventually cleared by the Tottenham defence. But can I ask you what you've made of Aston Villa, not only this evening, but this season? Because Emery does, I'm not going to be sitting here, being the Aston Villa fan club, but he has done a great job, Emery, at Villa Park.
Yeah, he has the last couple of seasons. Well, they in Europe 3 years out of 4 or something. Somebody was saying now going to be in Europe playing European competition of some description, obviously pushing for Champions League. I thought they played well tonight. It was a tough opponent, Villa. I remember in the 90s, in the sort of days of Paul McGrath, and going back, Villa always seemed to be a bogey team. I always remember that there's a guy I used to work with, he was a Villa fan, and he always used to be gloating when we played them. I just seem to remember they used to beat us or turn us over more often than not. That's how I remember it. But, Villa are a good side now. There's no two ways about it. But they did look a little bit nervous when the crowd seemed to be a bit of tension around the crowd in that first half, towards the end of the first half, that they weren't in the lead. Because Ollie Watkins was applauding the fans coming off. Obviously, there's doubts about his future. Martinez, I just read on Twitter, had tears in his eyes as he was walking around applauding at the end. And there's obviously links with him going to the Saudi Pro League. So they could lose 2 really big players next season. Rashford, you'd think, goes back to Old Trafford. So, that's 3 players. Obviously, I think he's Asensio on loan as well, isn't he? So, that's 4 players they could lose. That would completely change their squad. So if they're in European competition, if they're in the Champions League, that's going to be tough. That's going to be tough for them to replace those players. But, I've been impressed with Villa. It was just a shame we couldn't just get back into that game tonight, because I thought they looked nervous towards the end of the first half. Yeah. Oh, Chris, can I just say, I think it was before that, there was a lovely flowing move. I was dead impressed. It was like Ange ball when it went out to, it was sort of between Tell and Odar, and Odar had just flicked it. It was almost like behind his legs, like a back heel. Yeah. Martinez made a cracking save. But it was a really good move by Spurs, that.
Yeah, we did. That's the one that we spoke about earlier. It was a great move, but it was our only shot on target, Craig. It's a little bit frustrating, isn't it?
Yeah. Sorry, I was thinking, was there another one? But it was. Yeah, you're right. It was that one. And that's how it gets you, isn't it? Because you think, oh, there must have been another chance, and we didn't have one, did we? It actually come up on the telly. It was like Spurs last. This was. You were watching it on the telly, Jamie. You must have seen this. It came up like Spurs' last shot on target, 16 minutes or whatever it was, and this was like in minutes 75, 80. So. Yeah, it was a bit. We've had that a few times this season, haven't we? Haven't had as many shots on target as we'd like. For a team that's so attacking, it hasn't gone our way, has it? Sometimes.
Jamie, on 34 minutes, Archie Gray received a yellow card from the referee, pulling Ollie Watkins down. What did you make of Archie Gray this evening? What have you made of him in his first season at the football club, and where do you see his position in the future at Spurs?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I was talking to someone about it, actually. I watched the first half with a friend, and we were talking about him. I think he's a massive talent. I feel for him a little bit, weirdly, although, because I think he's been so exposed this season, and the positive spin to put on that is what a job he's done when he's coming at centre half, when we really need him, and how much he grew. But then the negative of that is he shouldn't really be under that kind of pressure, and he's coming into a real hotbed environment, and he's being played out of position. So, I wonder what sort of impact that has him. I think he's a top player. He's got a great future at the club. I don't know where his best position is. Allegedly, it's midfield. Allegedly, it's centre midfield. Whenever I've seen him go in there, I haven't seen enough to say that, like a Bergvall, for example, when Bergvall stepped in and started to grow into the team and find his identity within the team, you start to go, wow, okay, that's where, and he's a ball carrier, and he's going to get bigger and stronger. You can see that. I haven't seen enough, I don't think, of Archie Gray in there for me to go, that's where he plays. And if anything, I would go as far as to say he's looked better at centre half than he has in centre midfield. But I don't know. I don't know where his best position is. I don't know either if maybe, I don't know, see how pre-season goes, or whether he has a little loan spell first half of the season, just to find himself again, maybe a good championship. I think there are rumours that Leeds want to have him back on loan. So I don't know. He's definitely one for the future, and I don't want him to go anywhere. I think he's a top player. He's a really, really top player, and I think he's, the way he conducted himself, the way he's handled himself has been really impressive for such a young lad, from a big footballing pedigree as well. So yeah, one for the future.
I think we've spoken about this, at length before, Jamie, but I'd like to get your opinion on this, because with someone like Archie Gray, when you become that versatile player and you don't nail down a particular position, it's very hard, because you just get known to be filling in when a player is out injured, suspended, or whatever. Surely he's got to nail down that position that he wants to play in.
Yeah, he has, and that's not just really down to him. That's down to whoever the coaches at the time, the coaching staff, recognising that and giving him the opportunity. The one thing he has earned himself by what he's done coming in and helping us out, he's earned himself an opportunity to have a run in the side when he eventually comes in a position and give him a chance. The same way Jed Spence has done. I mean, back in the day, I was a massive, I'm probably the only one, but one of my favourite ever players was Steve Sedgley. I loved Steve Sedgley. And he was one of those, wasn't he? Exactly as you say. He played everywhere, played absolutely everywhere. He was up top, he was, centre half, centre midfield. Yeah. And that's what he became known as. And I loved him for that. But I think Archie Gray's, he's got more than that. And I think when he does find his position, I think he's going to be a real asset.
Craig, let's come to you. On 36 minutes, Reguilon lost the ball. And then it went to Asensio and it went just wide. What did you make of Reguilon this evening?
He looked like a player that hadn't played a load of football, to be honest with you. He done a job, didn't he? But he wasn't fantastic by any stretch. He spent a lot of the half moaning about a little scratch to his belly, to be honest, in that handbag incident. So, yeah, he was, let's face it, he was just doing a job because we didn't have anybody else. And that's really hard to say, but we didn't have anybody else to play there. Wanted a rescue doggy, so he just filled in. Look, I thought when we signed him from Real Madrid, I actually thought they've been chasing him for a few years, Spurs. And in that first season when Gareth Bale came over, I thought he was a really good player, actually, but he just hasn't kicked on, has he? So, not the best performance by Reguilon tonight, but he'll probably be his last for the club.
Yeah. On 38 minutes, a free kick, header at goal from Konsa, and comfortable save from Kinski. On 40 minutes, Craig, on 40 minutes, from Aston Villa's attack, we then went up the other end of the pitch. HeungMin Son, he put a cross in, no one there. Who was at fault here? Because Son put in a great cross, not a Spurs player to be found. Also, let me go back to the 5th minute and that chance from Son. Is it a confidence thing? Is Son overthinking things to not get that shot in early? And did you think that he'd done his job on 40 minutes? Should a player have been there to tap home, or should he have done better with the cross?
It's a difficult one, because I've always found that when strikers or certainly forward-thinking players won't have a shot when the shot is probably the best option, then it's a confidence thing. They don't want to take the responsibility to have a shot. Whereas Son did have a shot previously, and it was, like I say, it was typical sort of Son cutting in and shooting. So it's just all about decision making. But the cross by Son was decent. If the cross is decent in decent position, then that's the onus is on the striker to get in that position. Or like Johnson's done so well for us this season at the back post. So it's a bit of both. But if the cross is into the right areas where he's supposed to be putting it and the centre forward isn't there, then that's the centre forward's issue.
Jamie, of course, Maddison out, Bergvall out, Kulusevski out. Wilson Odar was in the number 10 role this evening. At half-time, it was 0-0. 3 minutes after the break, on 48 minutes, Kinski, great through ball to Odar, and it was a poor touch. What do you make of Wilson Odar this evening?
I don't think he's going to play in that role, but I thought he looked quite energised. I thought at the start, I thought he looked all right. I don't think he's recovered since the big injury. When we first got him, I thought he was electric. I thought when he first came in, and then he got that big injury, and I don't think he's really sort of rediscovered that. But I thought actually tonight he looked at the start. I thought he looked a bit lively, linked up pretty well. But then fell away. So, but I don't think he's good. That's not where he's going to play. I think if you're looking, he's going to play out on the left. You know, maybe on the right. I don't think he's not in that number 10 role.
Who is going to fill that role on Wednesday night? Do you think?
I'm assuming he'll go back, and the three he'll go Basuma, Sarr, Bentancur, Johnson, Solanke, Son. I would have thought. I think that's what he's holding out for. I think that's what he's going to play. So I think Bentancur comes back in. I can't see anything other than that. Like I said, the only question mark, and I don't think it's not a question mark for me, but is that left hand side where we play Son on the left hand side of that three.
Jamie, I know it's a pretty obvious question, but I've got to ask it as the host of this podcast that, when you have players like Maddison, Kulusevski and Bergvall out, how much of a miss are they going to be, particularly in such a big game? And also I wanted to get your opinion on Bergvall winning the 3 awards. It was a clean sweep for Bergvall at the official supporters voting. He won all 3 awards for a player that has only started 11 Premier League games this season. Yeah,
do you know what? For me, he's been the best thing unless we win the Europa League, he's been the best thing that's come out of this season. And because I'd heard about him, because we bought him, didn't we? And then we loaned him straight out, and then he came in, and I'd heard good things about him, seen little clips. And when he first came in, I felt, and I know he played early on in Europe was where he sort of got blooded a little bit. And then when I saw him at the early stage, I think I said it on this podcast, I went, I think there's a really good player in there, but I couldn't quite see what his identity was. I couldn't quite. It felt like he was playing sideways a little bit. He was being very, very conservative. And now I know what he is about, and now I've seen what he's actually about and his confidence. He was playing within himself, because now I think he's such a brilliant player to watch. He grabs the game by the scruff of the neck. He drives forward. He's got a bit of bite about him. He likes to mix it up. He strikes the ball brilliantly. He's had some great shots, pinging off bars and all that. I think he's been, like I said, the shining light for me. So the fact that we're talking about him and what a massive loss he is for the Europa League final is a huge credit to him. But it is a massive loss. Those 3 players. I mean, that's just because I think Kulusevski, for obvious reasons, with his energy, I actually think a final against a Premier League club, I think it could be a very cagey affair, and I do actually think Maddison or Bergvall, Maddison particularly, I think he just that little ability to twist and turn, just to create something out of nothing, get us playing dropping into those little pockets. I think that's going to be really vital, because they've got Bruno doing the same thing. So I think Maddison's a massive loss in this particular game. I think he's a player that could really make a difference, and we could really play through him and utilise him properly. And I think Bergvall, a similar thing. I mean, all 3 of them are massive losses, but and it's a shame, because I thought Bergvall might sort of sneak in, but I don't know what else there is to say. It's gutting. It's gutting to have one of those out, let alone all 3.
Craig, I know it's very hard to assess our creative side of the game in a game like this evening, having lost 2-0 and only having one shot on target. But the creative side of our game in previous months with the players that are available for Wednesday, how are you feeling about the creative side of our game?
I'm a bit concerned, to be honest. I'm not going to lie. However, I don't think it's necessarily going to be that game. I think Jamie's right. I think it's going to be a very cagey affair Wednesday. I think Spurs, you'll probably see Spurs be a bit more pragmatic, let United come onto them, perhaps even play on the counter-attack like we've seen us do before. Because it's a one-off game, I don't really care how we play as long as we get the trophy in the cabinet, to be fair. I think it'll be the case. And we've seen Ange do it before, and he'll set them up and play in such a way that we've seen us play without a playmaker before and try and play that attacking sort of style, and it hasn't worked. So perhaps just getting down and dirty and doing the dirty work and then just hitting them on the break is the way forward, because we're going to have 3 fast forwards anyway. So it's just got to get there. I think it's going to be played, rather than playing perhaps through a Maddison or through a Kulusevski, I think you'll probably find it perhaps more towards the wings against United. So, and get it out of that midfield. So, it's going to affect us in the game that we would want to play 100%, because you know, Bergvall missing, Maddison missing, Kulusevski missing. Where is the creativity? You could argue Bentancur could play it, but I think he's been better in a deeper role this season. So we'll see. But as long as we get over the line, you've got to remember, United, that's 8 games without a win in the Premier League. It's their worst run in Premier League history tonight. And you can say United don't care about the league as much as we do, but you know, they've been. People say we've been poor in the league. You want to watch United? They are pretty bad as well. So it's either going to be 2 very bad teams in a very bad game, and it's going to be 1-0, or it's going to be end to end. There's going to be loads of goals. I can't see it being anywhere in between.
Craig, many journalists asked Ange Postecoglou in the embargoed section of the press conference on Thursday about Pedro Porro possibly playing in that creative role. What are your thoughts on that?
I could see him doing it, but what a risk to put Pedro Porro in that role in such a big game. I don't think you risk that. Even if you've tried it in training, you'd want to see it in a couple of games at least. He's such a good passer of the ball, but I haven't really seen him in a creative attack. I haven't seen him that far up the pitch. So, not for me. Probably you play a midfielder in there, one that doesn't mind getting forward a bit. But you know, you're not going to get a Maddison or a Kulusevski type player that's going to run with the ball and pick a pass. It's just going to be a bog standard 3 in midfield. I think we saw it. Where have we seen it this season with 3? Was it the Fulham game? We all said, "Where's the creativity?" Yeah, and it was right. So, but perhaps they'll tweak the style of play.
Well, where is that creativity coming from then, Craig? In your opinion,
I don't think you'll see it on Wednesday. We haven't got a. We all know what players are available. And there is no creativity through the middle, really. You've got 3 midfielders there, just proper midfielders, no number 10, essentially. So the creativity's got to come from the wings for me. That's what I think you're going to see, the ball getting wide to the likes of Porro and Udogie, and getting Johnson and Son or Odar or whoever it is playing on the wings. The creativity's got to come down the wings for me, because it just won't be there in the middle. I think it'll just be a case of packing the midfield, keeping the midfield solid, and then using the wings. But I'm not the manager.
Jamie, on 53 minutes, Pape Matar Sarr came off, Basuma came on. What did you make of both of them this evening, and what have you made of both of them this season?
Yeah, Sarr have a little tweak in his back, didn't he? I don't know if that's, but they don't say it too serious. I was literally just thinking as Craig was talking there, because I totally agree with him. I think we have to admit defeat to the creativity side. I think we have to do, we went to Bodo Glimt, and I thought they did a really, good functional job. And I think we have to do the same on Wednesday. I think we have to forget that playing in the little pockets, creating through the middle. I think it's all about width. I think we're better defensively than them. I think we need to be nice and tight for the first 20 minutes at least, settle into the game. and then start pushing. And on that, to that end, I was thinking I think Basuma needs a massive game. He owes us a massive game. I think he's been really disappointing this season. He's blown more cold than he has hot, but I think, I just don't think the quality's been there. Sometimes he looks very lackluster for me, but I do think he's capable. And like I said about all of them, it's a cup final. If you can't turn up in a cup final and pull out your best game and put in the best shifts of your life, then I don't know what you're playing the game for. So I think they're crucial for us. I think, I echo what Craig said. So it's going to be a battle of attrition. I think we've got to stop them playing through Fernandes. I think Basuma's key to that. I think Basuma, the three of those, I think are absolutely key to squashing that midfield of theirs, which is where their creativity comes from. Take Bruno Fernandes out of that team. I think they're. I think most of our players would get in that side.
Yeah.
And so therefore, I think we need a massive game from Basuma, a massive game from Sarr. Sarr, I find one of the most frustrating players we've got, because I think he's capable of, and I don't want to mention an Arsenal player on a Spurs podcast, but he's got that Vieira-like quality at times where he does glide around, he covers a lot of ground. He can be on his day, he can be superb. He can really, really boss a game and run a game, and he's capable of scoring from distance, putting in big tackles. You just don't see it enough for me. But all that goes out the window. It's the final.
Do you know what's surprising stat about United? I know we're going a bit off track, but they haven't won back-to-back Premier League games this season. That's an incredible stat.
Craig, I don't know whether you've seen on social media, there's that guy saying that he's not going to get a haircut until Manchester United win 5 on the trot, and his hair is literally out here. I think he's on day 300, and he still hasn't had a haircut. How long is that going to be?
Yeah. Oh, God, yeah.
I know, unfortunately, you can't get involved in that task.
I was going to say, you're close to the bone there.
Craig said he's going to grow his hair when we win a trophy.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
I said I wasn't going to shave. I did say I wasn't going to shave till we won a trophy. Then I got told off. So it looked like Rasputin.
Jamie, let's come to you on 58 minutes. Another Aston Villa chance and shot at goal, and Danso blocked. What have you made of Kevin Danso in a Spurs shirt this season? Because if, God forbid, something happens to Romero or Van der Ven ahead of this cup final, or indeed during the cup final, Danso would obviously be the obvious one to come in. What have you made of him?
I mean, if he has to, this is all due respect, if he has to feature, we're in trouble. If I'm honest, I think he's all right. I think I was quite surprised. I thought he was much tougher and a big sort of bossing centre half than he is. I think he loses quite a lot in the air. I think, from what I've noticed, I think he's all right. I think he's a panic buy. He was the right panic buy at the time. But yeah, I think if Dragusin's fit, does he step in ahead of Dragusin? Not sure. You could argue for both, but he's miles off first choice centre half to me.
Craig, let's come to you. Let's talk about Aston Villa's first goal. Of course, it comes from Konsa on 59 minutes. What did you make of the goal that we conceded? And before you talk about that, how are you feeling at this point? Because it took 59 minutes before Aston Villa, got the first goal of the game. I think a lot of people were quite surprised, even at the halfway point, that it was 0-0, because they interviewed a number of people, on the tannoy before the game, and a lot of the Aston Villa fans, they were saying, "Oh, what do you think your score prediction is?" And a lot of them are going 4-0, 4-0, 4-1. They expected this game to be a walkover.
Yeah. This was poor defending. There's no two ways about it. You can't get away from it. I think we were going slightly zonal. I couldn't actually work out. I did watch the replay, but I couldn't work out who had Konsa in the end. We just went to sleep. absolutely went to sleep. The free header at the back post, more or less, back into the danger area, and Conser's right in that area. I'm not sure what our defenders were doing. Just switched off. Everybody switched off. How much space has he got around him there? Why? How can you have that much space in the 6-yard box? Kinski's not got a chance to save that. Yeah. It's happened all too often this season. But as I say, although that was from a corner, wasn't it? So it's obviously more players are back than the back four. But I think if our normal back four are in that situation, yes, we've had a few mares this season, but I don't think that happens.
I know, obviously, we've spoken about Reguilon and Danso so far in the podcast, but let's talk about the other two defenders in the back four, Davis and Spence. How did you feel that they got on this evening, Craig?
I didn't think Davis had his strongest game, to be honest with you, which is unusual for Ben Davis. He's usually pretty solid 7 or 8. But, yeah, he wasn't good tonight. And same with Jed Spence, actually. He's had 2 poor games in a row now. I don't know whether Spence just thinks no matter what he does, he's not going to get in that starting 11 for the final. So he's kind of switched off a bit. His performances have dipped of late, whereas, you know, he was really, really playing well when he was in the team regularly. So, yeah, it's a bit of a shame to see Jed Spence drop off. I just hope he can get it back next season. But, yeah, I don't think Spence had his best game tonight.
Jamie, do you want to add anything on the first goal that we conceded? And plus, on 61 minutes, it was very nearly 2-0, but Kinski made another great save, this time from Ollie Watkins.
Yeah, I echo what Craig said. It's bad defending. And that's what I mean about Danso, someone who looks like a kind of almost a throwback, no-nonsense centre-half, someone who's going to go and attack the ball and win the ball. I don't think he's efficient enough at it. And I think there's a lot of gaps. I don't think that happens with Romero and Van der Ven in there. I don't with our first choice back four. I think that's a different kettle of fish. You know, that is just literally switching off. I coach my under-10s team, and you know that's the type of thing that you know we see them do, and you shouldn't be expecting that no matter what the stakes are at that level of football.
Jamie, I feel like it's very fair to say as soon as the first goal went in, Aston Villa, the team, they grew in confidence, and it was almost like shooting practice after that, the amount of chances that they had. McGinn shooting just past the post on 69 minutes. A minute later, another long-range shot just past the post. And then, of course, Kamara scoring Aston Villa's second goal. And like I said at the start of the podcast, both goals that we conceded immediately, you know, you would expect a number of Spurs fans to be moaning, whinging, shouting at players, etc., like I've seen all season at home games and away games. But it was like, you know, the supporters, I don't know whether don't care is probably, you know, it's probably not the right thing to say, but they just weren't too bothered about it because all eyes are on Wednesday, obviously. But what did you make of the second goal that we conceded?
I mean, again, I think it's poor defending. I think you know the energy dipped out of the side. You know, if you look at body shapes, you know, facing the ball, it's basics. It's real basics. You know, why there's players there not opening their bodies out, which is a simple thing, a basic thing, and that just shows me there's a bit of a lack of quality, but also just lack of concentration. So I think once we're 1-0 down, Villa's tails go up a little bit. We go, oh well, we made a bit of a fist of it, and then it's about not getting injured. Like I know the Johnson incident that Craig mentioned earlier, that where he does pull out of it. So I think the whole stadium, from a Spurs perspective, just started to switch off and focus our attentions on saving our season.
Yeah. Craig, I don't know about you, but I feel like Kinski is at fault for this goal. I feel like it went through him too quickly, easily, and I feel like he should have done a lot better. I know, obviously, we've spoken about his good saves that he's made in this game, but do you agree with me that you feel like he should have done better here?
He'll probably feel like he should have saved it. I'd say that, but in his defence, look where the defenders are. Why are they not shutting those players down?
Yeah,
he's poor defending. There's no two ways about it, and he is slightly unsighted.
I was going to say that actually when Jamie was talking, when you look at this first graphic that we've put on screen here, it doesn't look too much of a danger, particularly how many Spurs shirts that you've got in our box.
Yeah, but there is two players on the Villa right, and I don't know who that is that passed it in there, but two players, and Bissouma should be picking up the goal scorer, in my opinion. He's ball watching.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just a catalogue of errors again. Just players switching off. Yeah, and like there, I can see why Bissouma went with the runner. He did the right thing, but I think he's at Reguilon trying to get to him, and he's just not good. He's just not good defended. And as you can see, Kinski was probably unsighted a little bit by Gray, and I think that's Davis there. So he's in the right position, but I think it's a bit harsh to say he should have saved it. But I think he should probably. He would be. He's a goalkeeper. He'll think he should save everything, but ultimately for me, it was just bad defending by Spurs.
Craig, a minute after conceding the second goal, Reguilon and Son went off. Solanke and Bentancur came on. What did you make of those subs at that point? Were you surprised to see Solanke getting any minutes this evening? Particularly looking forward to such a big game. Resting these key players. Bentancur, you'd feel like he's definitely going to start. Solanke's definitely going to start in this game. Were you a bit worried that Ange put these two players on 16 minutes to go?
I was glad Sonny went off after on the hour mark. I thought Ange, to be fair, there's an argument to say he could have bought some of the kids off the bench. Bentancur, I think, was a bit of a risk, but as I said earlier, I'm not going to be a hypocrite. You needed to get these players minutes in their legs, but did Reguilon need to come off? Did he really need to come off? I know he hasn't played a lot of football, but yeah, unless he was injured, why not just leave him on? I didn't get that at all. Look, all the players got through it by the sound of it. So that's all that matters tonight, really. But I would have preferred it personally if Solanke didn't get on the pitch, because you're left with Richarlison attacking in the attack against Manchester United. So yeah, glad Solanke's fine.
If I could jump in there, I thought it was absolute madness. I literally couldn't believe what was happening. Because if Bentancur comes on, and bear in mind this is a bloke who's been injury prone a bit this season. If Bentancur goes off injured and he's out for Wednesday, we are in a whole heap of trouble. It's absolutely bonkers. Likewise with Solanke, that was just bonkers for me. You've got kids on there. We've got nothing to play for in the league. Why on earth? What are we doing? I get trying to give Son some confidence. I get a couple of the other things, but that was insane. We got away with it, but that's insane. And that's what kids are there for. That's what these young players are there for. They wait for those moments. Mikey Moore's had his opportunity. Casanova, whoever's going to come on, that's their moment. That's their moment to come on. The Premier League game of football, packed Villa Park, and give them their chance. And Reguilon, exactly, leave him on. I thought it was crazy. Absolutely crazy.
That's exactly what I was going to come to next. Mikey Moore, Jamie. On 75 minutes, McGinn had another shot, which went just wide. And then on 81 minutes, Mikey Moore put in a cross, which was then eventually cleared. What do you make of him starting the game this evening? Because he had 87 minutes tonight. What have you made of him this season?
I think he's great. I think I've been a real champion of him. And I don't think we've seen anywhere near the best of him. I think he's another one that stepped up. He's had opportunities this season. We've needed those young players. We've needed them more than really we should have done. And that's a criticism I have of how we conducted our business in the summer, knowing we had a European calendar to factor in, as opposed to last year where we didn't and we had loads of time off. I think he's been brilliant. I think he's a real talent, massive player for the future. Do we keep doing it, or do we give him another one? He's another one. Is he going to benefit from another loan, or do we chuck him in? But I I think he's outstanding and very exciting. I love his positivity. I love how he picks the ball up, drives at defenders, you know, and things happen. We all know that. We've had plenty of players like that down the years, and the Premier League's full of them. Players who just attack and are positive, and I love that. So yeah, I'm a big Mikey Moore fan.
Jamie, a player that played the full 90 minutes this evening, Matisse Tell. Now, of course, Spurs have an option to buy him in the summer. Do you think that Spurs will do that? Do you think that they will try and negotiate a better deal? Would you, as a Spurs fan, like to see Tell become a permanent Spurs player?
Let's dare to dream, and we win on Wednesday night. The question is he, you know, and that's the job, isn't it? Like you talk, go back to what we said about Big Ange, is he going to be in the job and whatever? You know, it's a rebuild. If we end up in the Champions League, it's a rebuild, and it's a massive rebuild. Is Matisse Tell someone who we see is going to drive us through the heavy fixture list and take us through the Champions League? In my opinion, I think he's improved. I think he's shown bits, but no. What is he? Is he 25? Is it 25 million or something? Fee, or is it a bit more than that? I don't know. Or
oh, it's a lot more than that.
Is it a lot more than that? Yeah. I don't know where I got 25 million from. No is my answer. I don't. He hasn't shown me enough personally for, you know. For me, I think he might be a squad player. He might be someone that bolsters our squad possibly. I think we need to be looking at players that are going to start, and I think we need experience for one. I think that's what we lack. When we've had these big injuries, we've had no experience to come and fill those voids, and that's what's bitten us. So Tell is not experienced. So that money is better spent for me, particularly if we go in the Champions League. Players that have played in the Champions League and know what it's all about, or season Premier League campaigns. But that's what we need more than anything. So no, I wouldn't be spending the money on him.
Craig, what did you make of Andrew's double sub? Odar Moore for Richarlison and Johnson, 3 minutes from time.
Bit odd, really. What's the point? 5 minutes. I couldn't see the logic in that. Yeah, weird one for me. I haven't really got much to say on that, other than that it was, just a bit odd, really strange. Yeah,
Jamie, to go back to your point, it's a 45 million option to buy Matisse Tell.
Right.
Yeah. No, not worth it.
No, definitely not.
Okay, so on 95 minutes, Aston Villa had another shot which deflected over the bar. So that concludes the game. Aston Villa 2, Tottenham Hotspur 0. As I said, Spurs are 17th in the Premier League table. But what a huge game we have got coming up for the football club, for all of us fans on Wednesday in Bilbao. Of course, I'll be travelling out to the game. Cannot wait. Really looking forward to it. You can say what you like about the Premier League season, but 16th v 17th in the Premier League. These teams are going to be facing each other in Bilbao in a European final, which is quite remarkable, really. Before we get into talking about starting 11s, how Ange Postecoglou will approach this game, etc., Jamie, what have you made of Manchester United this season? Because, of course, over the years, all of us have seen Manchester United win trophy after trophy after trophy with Sir Alex Ferguson. Of course, since Sir Alex has left, they've had a number of different managers through the door. They are not the Manchester United that we all know, but they have picked up a number of trophies along the way, even when they have had poor seasons, which I wish that we could be saying that, even when we've had very, very good seasons, we haven't picked up trophies. But what have you made of Man United this campaign? And, let's also talk about Ruben Amorim. What have you made of that appointment at Manchester United?
I mean, it's a shambles, isn't it? I've got, having been in Coronation Street for a couple of years, I'm still very good friends with a couple of the boys over there, Alan Housel and Andy Wyman. We're in a WhatsApp group. Ironically, it's called Should Have Got Big Ange. It used to be called Should Have Got Conte, and then we changed it to Should Have Got Big Ange. So I don't know what we're going to change it to next year. But yeah, so we chat a lot about the shambles up there, and they're very disgruntled, as are we. I don't know what's worse. Yeah, they picked up a couple of trophies, an FA Cup and and all that. But I think the expectations on that club, it's almost parallel with us because we're not winning trophies, but we're not really expected to. We're expected to win one every, decade or so, possibly. But they're expected to win something every year, and it's a complete shambles. I think they've been terrible. I think they're disjointed. I think and I think Amorim has come in and he's been given time. So by now you should be seeing the impact that he's had, and I just don't think it's there. I think the problems run obviously way deeper than that. And there's a big, with the ownership and all that sort of stuff. I think the whole thing's a bit of a joke and they're a bit of a laughing stock.
Jamie, what players from that Manchester United team and squad, what players do you fear? Because when you put the squads together, I feel like Spurs have got a much better squad. And let's also talk about, we've faced Manchester United 3 times so far this season, and we've won all 3 games. 3-0 at Old Trafford, 1-0 at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, 4-3 at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in the League Cup. And I know a lot of Spurs fans are very sceptical, saying, well, this is a game that really matters. Will we turn up in this game? But who do you fear in that team? Who do you look at and worry about?
Harry Maguire. He's Harry Maguire on the right wing, coming on and I do fear that stat that we beat them 3 times this season. I don't like that. I wish it was the other way around now. Who do I fear? I think I can't stand him, but you can't overlook Bruno Fernandes and the impact he can have on the game.
Yeah.
And how he can literally pick. I mean, without him, I don't know I don't know where they'd be. And his semi-final performance, was very, very impressive. I think I think there's a couple of players, Ahmad and players like that could hurt you. But I'd probably say Fernandes is the one that if you can shut him out and stop him getting on the ball, throwing his arms around, moaning about everything, then I think you've got a good chance. Because I don't think anything really happens for them without him. I think pretty much wherever they go on the pitch, it goes through him. So he's the one. Yeah,
I agree. Craig, let me ask you the same question. What have you made of Manchester United, the appointment of Ruben Amorim? Do you feel like they've improved under him? Because, from talking to a number of Manchester United fans, they feel like they've got to go through, some sort of rebuild there. And, they need, they've had really poor recruitment. I think that's very fair to say. They've spent a lot of money, but the recruitment has been poor. They've wasted a lot of money. But it needs someone to go in there and, sort them out properly, which it seems like Amorim is going to do. And also, which I mentioned to Jamie there, when they've had poor seasons, clubs like this, they always seem to just pick up a trophy.
Yeah, it's annoying as hell, isn't it? It really is. Amorim is I like Amorim as the manager, but he's got a task on his hands. He really has. But like you say, the worry for me is that clubs like Manchester United somehow seem to know how to win in the big games. I mean, Jamie Carragher said, didn't he, there's no way Spurs beat Manchester United in this final. And there is that worry. Of course there is. We can all be positive. I've been positive since we qualified for the final. But there's always going to be that nagging doubt, that Bruno Fernandes is going to come up with a worldy pass to somebody and he's going to come off Harry Maguire's arse and go in, or Mason Mount's going to have an absolute blinder, or Casemiro's going to do something. They've got good players. It's just that they don't seem to gel as a team a lot of the time. But I just hope they don't click against us. And I just hope we turn up in this final, because I've seen Spurs not turn up in finals over recent years. And you don't mind your team losing to a degree if they show up, give 100% and you're just beaten by the better team. Like that Chelsea game that they were applauded off the pitch when we was down to 9 men. They were trying, weren't they? And it was the crowd don't mind that. The crowd don't mind that, but don't make it another 2019 Champions League where Liverpool had a poor game. They were there for the taking. Yes, we got terribly unfortunate with the Sissoko handball in the first 2 minutes, but we didn't turn up Harry Kane, you could say Harry Kane wasn't fit, blah, blah, blah. Lucas Moura should have started. The whole team didn't play well that night. I just want us to turn up on Wednesday. Because if we turn up against United, we beat Manchester United. But make no bones about it, whoever loses, like I said earlier, whoever loses that final, it's a disastrous season. It's going to, especially Tottenham. Can you imagine the pundits going in, oh, typical Tottenham, get to a final and choke? I can't take it. We all can't take that. You know what I mean? You try not to let it wind you up, but it's going to wind you up. So, Tottenham, I beg you, please give us a happy Wednesday evening. Let's win a trophy because we all can't take another loss.
Yeah, it's interesting how Spurs also announced that, or they didn't announce it, they actually sent an email out to all of the neighbours confirming the parade. If Spurs do win the trophy, the parade will take place on Friday afternoon. Jamie, if you had the chance to speak to the players, go in that dressing room before the final, speak to the players, what would you say to them?
Oh, wow. God, what? I would just... oh, my God. I don't even know. I'm almost bursting into tears the thought of that. I've been a Spurs fan ever since I can remember. Like, I've got a little boy who's utterly obsessed the same way I am. He's gutted because I'm leaving him behind. I'm going to Bilbao and I'm leaving him behind, and he's gutted. He's going to be in tears either way. And I would just go in and exactly as Craig just said, just go, you've got to understand what this means to people and the responsibility you have and how you are carrying this club. And we are there. We're 17th in the league and we're still there. And we're still on this podcast chatting for an hour and a half. And we could chat for another 3 hours. Because this club is ingrained in us and it means the world to us. And we year after year see us underachieve and just miss out. And we've been there at the Champions League final. We've nearly won the league with, in my lifetime, 1994, 2009. There's too few to mention. There's too few moments of success to mention, and there's far too many misses and disappointments to mention. So just make it right. Just make it right. There won't be a better opportunity than this. We're playing a Man United team that is so beatable, that are in the same confidence lacking dip that we're in. This is a level playing field in a neutral stadium. I know 15,000 fans in the grounds, another 16,000 fans in the city. Just bring it home, boys. Just bring it home and give us what we deserve and what we need and what we've always wanted. Just do it for my son, please. Just do it for my son, so he can forgive me for going in a camper van for 3 days, and I can come back and pick him up and say we've done it.
Jamie, Craig is absolutely right, though, isn't he? Because it is either all or nothing. This is like going to go down as an absolute disaster of a season if we don't win it. But if we do, it would be extremely successful. Do you think that, whatever happens, there are a lot of reports coming out at the moment stating that Ange Postecoglou won't be at Spurs whatever happens next season. Are you surprised by that?
Was that for me?
Yeah.
No, I'm not surprised by that. No, I'm not surprised by that because it's a cup competition. And albeit I think we've done, it's a long cup competition and it's a very serious cup competition. It's a hard one to win. Ultimately, like Craig said earlier, the league is your bread and butter. And you can't get away from the fact that we are, had it not have been for 3 poor teams that came up from the Championship that were out of their depth, we'd be relegated. No question about it. And not only just, we'd be thick in relegation. I think we'd have gone down, gone by. We're not even on 40 points, which is the safety net for relegation. That's not acceptable. We have the best stadium in European football, and it's the best stadium in Europe to watch Beyonce at the moment. It's nowhere near where we should be. So, no, I'm not surprised by it. And I think he'll go even if we win the Europa League? Yeah, I do. Do I think he should? I don't know. I don't want to get drawn on the Ange in, Ange out thing, but if we win the Europa League, we have got an even bigger mountain to climb next year because we're in the Champions League. The fixture list, we've got to spend money, we've got to think tactically and all that stuff. But I think I do think he'll go either way. You know what I would love for him, for Big Ange? I'd love us to win on Wednesday, him to turn around and go, I told you I always win a trophy in my second season. I'm leaving, mic drop and go. And that's it.
I wouldn't be at all surprised if that happened.
No,
I really wouldn't.
No.
Yeah.
I wouldn't blame him. Because, for whatever he's done and the criticism, I mean, he's had a lot of crap. And he's had a lot of injuries to deal with. You could argue that's his fault. I don't know. But let's just forget it. It's been an awful season, but we can make it right on Wednesday and then go again next year. But I don't think he'll be at the helm.
Craig, how are you feeling about this game on Wednesday? Because it is so huge. As you mentioned, it is all or nothing. No European football next season if we don't win this game. No trophy again for another year. It looks like Ange is going to be leaving in the summer. So it's going to be another rebuild. It's going to be another new project, etc., etc. But if Spurs do win the trophy, of course, all of us would absolutely love being at that parade on the Friday.
Yeah, I'm not actually nervous at the moment. I probably will be Wednesday, but yeah, I mean, obviously it'd just be a fantastic week, wouldn't it? Wednesday, win the cup, and then look forward to Friday and seeing the trophy paraded through the streets on the bus, and the players standing on a big stage outside the stadium, holding it aloft. I think you don't get much better than it, and safe in the knowledge you got Champions League football, safe in the knowledge that you can hopefully attract bigger and better players to the club, safe in the knowledge that your big players are going to stay, you'd like to think. So there's so much riding on it. There is so much riding on it. But look, we can beat Manchester United. We can 100% beat Manchester United. They've just got to turn up. And it's kind of like flicking a switch in that Europa League this season for Tottenham. Diabolical performances in the league, decent performances in the Europa League, professional performances, different kinds of performances to get us over the line in Frankfurt. And Bodo could have been a banana skin. And it wasn't. We handled it professionally and handled it well out there on that plastic pitch. They played really well. Boring game, but they played really well. So we can beat United. United are going to be thinking, it's only Tottenham. Like Ferguson used to say, lads, it's just Tottenham. They're going to be thinking that, they beat us 3 times, but it's Tottenham.
I don't think that arrogance is there anymore because the quality levels have gone down so much, Craig. I don't feel like that arrogance is there anymore.
No.
Maybe, but I think there'll still be an element of it that they'll know Tottenham's history in cups is what I'm getting at. Everybody knows Tottenham's history, and everybody knows their history, and they'll know that. And all Amarin's got to say, look, we're Manchester United. We perform in big games. Nobody gave them a prayer against City in the FA Cup last year, and look what happened.
Yeah, true. Yeah. Last question for you both, Jamie. What have you made of Spurs in the Europa League this season? Because we do seem to be a very, very different team. We do approach these games differently. As Craig and you have both mentioned already, we are pragmatic in the Europa League rather than Premier League games. And also, how do you think that Ange will actually set up in this game in terms of personnel? And I suppose we should finish with a score prediction as well.
I think the Europa League, we've had some stinkers on the run. I think we've ridden our luck a bit. I think the youngsters deserve massive credit. I think the youngsters have featured a lot and probably more than they should have done, and have come up trumps. And like I said, I think Bergval's been the one shining light that's benefited from it. I think in the latter stages, I think it's been, especially in the last couple of rounds, I think Frankfurt was an excellent performance away in a hostile environment. And Bodo, exactly that. I thought Frankfurt, we should have put that to bed before we went out there. I thought we should have been probably 4-1 up going into that second leg, but we weren't. And I thought, to be honest, I thought Bodo were poor. I wasn't impressed. I thought they were very vulnerable. I thought they gave possession away very easily. At our place, they looked way out of their depth. They looked like a League One, League Two side in an FA Cup game. But then I thought, to go out there to that tiny little stadium in that environment on the plastic pitch, I thought, we did a really good job. So, and we're in the final. We're here. We were the favourites. We're now in the final. And I feel it's exactly as Craig said. It's about how we turn up, how we start, how we believe. I think he'll set us up. I think he'll play that. I think he'll do I think he'll play 4-3-3. I think that's the team. I think the back four, picks itself pretty much. I think Udogie comes in, and then I think it's Bentancur, Sarr, Basuma. I don't think there's any other choice than that. And then I think he goes Sonny, Solanke, and Johnson. And it's about the message. I think from what I hear, he's good. His team talks are good. It's just about how he motivates the players and creates that belief. We need a massive game from massive players. Sonny, this is Sonny's opportunity to put this system right, without a shadow of a doubt. Basuma, exactly the same. Bentancur has to, and I think he's been really good in Europe. He has to maintain that consistency, but that calm, level head, shut out Fernandez. Score prediction, I can't do it. I just can't do it. I don't know. I can't do it. I can't even. I'll keep stopping myself.
Okay, let me put it this way, Jamie. Would you be getting in this camper van if you didn't feel confident?
Well, I've been a Spurs fan, so probably. It's not my first rodeo, Chris. And a big shout out to my two best mates in the world, Adrian and Brett, who we've been Spurs fans. We were junior Spurs together, and and now my godson Archie, who is unfortunately hit with the affliction. We're the four of us in the camper van. Follow me, because I'm going to vlog the whole thing. But yeah, that's the thing. We've been away to all sorts of European destinations and driven up to Oldham back in the day in Adrian's little tiny Fiesta. We had to win to stay up. Yeah. So it's not the first time. It might be the last time, because we're all getting a bit too old for it now. But there's no way of course you go. You believe, of course you do, because that's the beauty of being a football fan, right? Because it's. But I just don't want to. I don't want to put it out there. Every time I find myself going, oh my God, what if? Because the Champions League final, I didn't sleep for 2 weeks before that, and then 2 days before I was an absolute mess, and then it took me another 2 weeks to get over it. So and I let myself go, what if we win a Champions League? What if I see us win a Euro? And I was in Spain. What if I see us win a European trophy? What if I see us win that? So now I'm going, don't do it. Just get in the camper van, pack it full of snacks, and just keep on trucking, and we'll see you on the other side.
Do you know, Jamie, since the Bodo Glimt win, I've been on a real high. Obviously, we had the Crystal Palace game, which, when I walked into the stadium and saw so many people that I know, and I was on a real high, real buzzing, and then went into work on Monday morning, and someone said, well, what if you don't win? How are you going to feel then? And I hadn't really thought about that, because I was absolutely gutted. I didn't talk to anyone for days after that game in Madrid against Liverpool, losing that Champions League final. And I remember how I felt. Absolutely gutted. Didn't want to talk to anyone at all about Spurs, about football, whatever. Just felt so down. But being on such a high, I just don't want to feel like that again. And it's just been so long without a trophy. Yes, it's been a very poor league season, but to play, to have the opportunity of playing Champions League football next season, I just feel like every single player, and I've said this a number of times throughout this campaign this season, you don't want to be remembered. These players don't want to be remembered for the team that finished 17th, broken all these unwanted records. They can be heroes. And as Ange said in the press conference last week, their pictures will be up on the walls at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium if we lift this trophy. So they've got to give absolutely everything. Leave everything out on that pitch and give everything.
I've got a retro tracksuit top from 1984. Like people be wearing this kit for the rest of time. It'll be embossed in the history of the club. They've got the opportunity. These guys who've given us the worst league season in like 50 odd years can bring this home. It's. I mean, God, I've got to stop it. I've got to stop it.
Yeah,
I've got to stop it. And yeah. It's going to be a 14. I think it's 14 hours to get there, and probably 14 hours to get back. And I think the 14 hours there will go a lot quicker. But I want that 14 hours back to whistle past as we shout out the window. Because if I'm sitting with my head between my knees, crying into my soup again, it's going to be the longest 14 hours of my life. So please.
Yeah. I think I better warn the viewers and listeners. Actually, if we do win, just expect hundreds and hundreds of videos coming out. But if we do lose, then I might be gone for a week or two. So yeah. Please accept that. Craig, lastly with you, how are you feeling about it? In terms of personnel, do you agree with Jamie's team that you think Ange Postecoglou will put out in Bilbao on Wednesday?
Yeah, exactly same as Jamie. Totally. I mean, don't get me wrong. If I had the chance, I'd play Dembele, Ericsson, Ali, Son of 2016, Kane and Bale, but we don't get that option, do we? So yeah, I agree with that team, and like I say, I'm not nervous yet. I'm actually excited for it. I'll let you into little thought I had back in 2019. I was never really confident we would win that Champions League final, even before. I know you go into it as a fan hoping, but if you'd asked me deep down, did I think we'd win? I didn't, and we didn't. But this game, I think we do. I do think we do win this game. I just can't see a world in which we lose because the loss is terrifying to me if we lose this game. Yeah. Because the impact it would have on everything next season, the club, the impact is huge. So that terrifies me, losing. It does. But as I say, I'm still confident. I think we get the job done.
That's a great point, because if you play in Champions League football next season, you need some super players coming in the transfer window. And if we didn't have any European football next year, I feel like it's going to be a very, very different window. Craig, you're going to be at the stadium on Wednesday.
Yes, I will be there. Block 118, I think we're in. So if you see me, if you want to come over and say hello. Hopefully we'll all be celebrating together. Myself, Gary and his family, and Darren Altman on the channel is going to be there as well. Hopefully Ricky Norwood is going to be there as well if he goes to the right stadium. So it's going to be good. I'm just looking forward to the Friday when hopefully we can all meet up and watch the players lift that trophy and carry it down the high street. But yeah, fingers crossed, eh?
Yeah, hopefully the next time I see you, Jamie, will be in Bilbao to have a beer or two, and hopefully I'll see you then back in London on Friday for the parade.
Yeah, 1,000,000%, mate. I mean, when are you getting out there?
Bilbao Monday night.
Oh, are you? Oh, you're one of those posh people who've got one of those flight things, haven't you?
I'm doing it properly.
Yeah, you're getting. I don't think that's doing it properly. Doing it properly is in a camper van you've rented off some stranger.
Do you know what? There's no proper way, Jamie. Just get there. Get there. Get there how you get there. That's fine. It's hopefully it'll be a superb trip. But Jamie, great to have you back on the podcast. You're always welcome. And tell everyone where they can find you, what you're up to at the moment in terms of working. What can we look out for?
So it's been quite a busy start to the year. I've done a couple of things. I'm doing an ITV drama, which I'm not sure I can say what it is, but I can say it's set in Brighton. It's a series that's already been running. I think this is series 4, maybe 5. Set in Brighton, which is my hometown, which is great. So I'm working locally. And then before that, I was filming Brassic, which is really good. I think that's out later this year, or maybe beginning of next year. You can find me on Insta at the Jamie Kenner, and give me a follow, because I'm just gonna video and document me and my 3 pals trundling across France down into Spain, yeah, to much hilarity, and who knows what's going to unfold. But yeah, so give me a follow and say hello, and wish us all the best.
Jamie, I can't wait to see you in Bilbao because I want to film you. I'm going to film you document in your documentary. So yeah,
let's do it.
Let's
do it. I'll give you a shout when we get there, and hopefully we make it back for the victory parade, because I don't even know if we'll be back in time.
Yes. Well, Jamie, thank you so much. Pleasure having you back on with us, and I look forward to seeing you in Spain. And Craig, thank you so much.
No worries. I can't believe that's the last game before the final. I was thinking, have we got one Sunday? But of course, it's the Friday game, and we're done now till the final. So
we don't need any more Premier League games.
We bloody well don't. No, that's done with that. But yeah, I am looking forward to it. I am. Can't think about much else. Getting out on the golf course tomorrow morning to try and forget about it. So yeah, bring on Wednesday, and let's hope we win, because the content is going to be banging if it is. I can tell you.
Are you watching it in the Tottenham Stadium, or are you in Bilbao, Craig?
No, in the Spurs Stadium, mate.
Stadium.
So yeah, I'll be there.
Yeah.
Before I go, I'd just like to thank the 22.3 million people that have watched the channel so far this year. Incredible numbers. So thank you so much for all of your incredible support. Also listening on audio platforms as well. Have a great weekend, everyone. Yes, it wasn't to be here at Aston Villa, but of course we've got the final to look forward to on Wednesday. Let's hope that we can pick up a trophy, the first European trophy at the football club in 41 years. Wouldn't it be great? Thanks to Jamie, thanks to Craig, thanks for watching, everyone. Thanks for all of your support, and we will see you again soon. Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.